Ooh, there we are.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Good. I'm just going to check if everyone on the live can also hear you clearly.
Okay.
So, guys, if you can hear Logan, just send a
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool.
The answer is yes. Awesome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Good. Likewise. First of all, how have you been? How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah. It's, I'm sure you're in a similar boat. We've been in lockdown. I think this is our third week. But, all is well, considering, I don't think I've ever been this busy before. And a lot of that, I think most, if we're talking about gym owners, folks are experiencing the same thing in some ways, on top of just the normal like shifts around managing your people and changes in your business. We decided to take on like all kinds of new initiatives and projects. So I don't know, that kind of stuff excites me. I like the stress of it a bit.
Yeah, I really want to get into that, and also what you have developed and the new stuff that you have rolled out.
Yeah.
For people that don't know you, I'm going to do a short intro. And
okay, cool.
If I mess it up, then be sure to tell me. But you're an ex-pro baseball player. Baseball really was the thing when you were growing up.
That's right.
After you were done with baseball, you transferred to strength and conditioning. You found that the pursuit of your peak expression in baseball gave you transferable skills that you could apply to other fields. You were the founder of Deuce Gym, a unique facility in LA that has 3 locations, competes with no one because you focus on your one thing. You offer business classes, seminars online. So you're doing a lot of different things. You're described by people like Carl Paoli as a deep guy. So I'm looking forward to jumping in the rabbit hole with you today.
All right.
How did I do?
No pressure. No pressure. Yeah. Yeah. I think everything you said is true. So I'm kind of maybe tough. It's tough for me to describe what I do because I think I made everything up. So there's not like a good job title on the shirt. So yeah, I'm stoked to be here with you. And I think, I care deeply about all of these things that you've mentioned. So it's just fun for me to talk about.
Cool. With all the different things, when you were growing up, it was baseball was the thing. There wasn't even a second. But if you had to pick one right now that's, should be on the shirt, like, okay, I am this thing right now. This is like my main thing. What would that be?
I think I most closely identify with entrepreneur, and that's kind of maybe not unique anymore. Like a lot, entrepreneurship has really gained popularity. It's like my parents' generation, when they talk about entrepreneurship, well, first of all, it wasn't a positively connotated word. I mean, it was like what losers did, it's like, okay, so you have a business that isn't real yet, or what does that mean? And, but I really love the idea of creating systems and things that can flourish. And I think that the part of the reason why I love it so much is, I think I have enough distance from sport now to see that what's the most powerful thing there is the environment that extracts our best efforts. And sport does a great job of extracting those efforts because of the the feedback loops that are involved in it. You know, there's a certain set of rules, and then the more that we care about a sport, the sort of the higher the expression of development, you know, and you can see that in different countries, right? Like, you know, in my country, baseball means a lot, but you go to another country and it's not, you know, and I can totally understand that. It's, you know, it's a weird game. But when you have participants who have a great deal of, let's call it like skin in the game,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of emotional or investment of other kinds, and then you have these parameters that provide feedback, then you can really develop and do some remarkable things. Well, entrepreneurship is similar but different. You know, the feedback loops look like revenue and costs and or membership, or, you know, cost of goods, depending on the business that you're in. And the sort of rigorous environment is there because of finances and desires to create something, etc. And so I think they're just vehicles, you know, to reflect back to us important lessons, you know, to grow.
Yeah, well, that's a great answer. I want to look at the crises that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do that through the lens of your book, if I may.
Okay.
So just bear with me. For people that don't know it, this is a plug. The right book. When you talk about Go Right, it's a book about pursuing your best self or your dreams. First of all, for the people that haven't read it, you talk about basically there's that thing which is scary and you're pursuing your dreams, and there's pain involved and there's growth. And then there's the alternative which seems safe. Now, when we look at, and you also talk about flow in the book, and the intersection of peak challenge and your peak preparation, that is where you describe flow to be. Right now we are faced with like a massive challenge. And I was just wondering how all the decisions you've made going right in the past have sort of prepared you for this moment, and how you've sort of responded to the challenge that is facing us.
Yeah, you know, part of what's behind the book is that, you know, there are these certain characteristics that people who are willing to go on these journeys, like you said, for their peak self, they obtain and they benefit from these characteristics that you can't obtain any other way. And you're right, the literature says the ripest environments for flow, or the peak human experience that is often described as flow, occur at this intersection, like you said, of our level of preparation, and then on the other axis, the level of challenge. And so we can sort of run this mental experiment through the environment that we're faced with right now. I think the coronavirus pandemic is a stretch for everyone involved, right? There's no one, you know, there's not like a guy in London who's like, I've been practicing for this my whole life, you know, like no one was specifically prepared for this thing in this way. Now, that sort of checks the box, I think, for the one axis of level of challenge. Now, the only other question is, what have you done or not done to sort of prepare for this moment? Which is like a weird thing to say, because the specifics of a pandemic are not really what I'm talking about, right? Like if you seek what we call disconfirming information or adversity or some sort of negative feedback, you can potentially create a person or a company that can thrive through times like this, okay? And there are many folks who have sort of chosen the other path, we'll call it like going left, which is seeking only perceived safety, and perceived is an important word to put there, perceived certainty, this notion that is risk avoidant, and it's times like this that we are reminded that there is no certainty and there is no real safety, and this is a strong illusion of control. And if you went down that path far enough, you're probably the least prepared and the least fit for this type of environment. This thing is really going to kick a lot of people in the butt that have literally done nothing to prepare for the unknown and the unknowable, right? And so the sort of the irony of the book is that if you believe there are two choices and one feels risky, unrealistic, idealistic, right? This is going right. The ideal path feels unsafe. There's not a lot of models to follow in that direction. It doesn't feel like a well-traveled path. And if that's one choice, and the other choice is a very well-traveled path, it seems very obvious, it seems realistic, safe, socially acceptable, etc. If you feel like those are the two choices, then it seems like only crazy people would choose this going right approach, right? That feels like the case. But if I can explain to you and prove to you that most of the arguments for going left, like safety, like certainty, like this idea of control, are not real, then you're looking at two choices where only one has upside and both have downside. And so when you look at it through that perspective, I sort of wrap the book, I mean, spoiler alert, saying that there really is no choice, right? The only choice is to put yourself in a position to have a chance for upside, a chance for a positive outcome. And that is this kind of going right approach. And, you know, just to put like a little, you know, less theoretical spin to it, you know, I don't know how this is going to pan out. You know, I'm in the fitness industry. Fitness is illegal everywhere in the world. Okay. So it's illegal to do what we do for business. I don't want to speak too soon, you know, knock on wood, but I think that we're going to be okay. And not only are we going to be okay, the company and the people in it are going to be really well off at the end of this because of how we have built the organism and how we operate on a daily basis. It's sort of like the gas in the gas tank for this company, meaning Deuce, is disconfirming information.
Yeah.
It's negative feedback. This is how we move forward.
But I see that the way people are interpreting the information that's coming to them right now, and you talked about disconfirming information. For instance, I thought my company was Antifragile, but I didn't have any services online, or it could be this, that, or the other. The way people respond to that will probably determine if they're going to be okay at the end of, you know, whenever this finishes.
It is. And I think more important than if you had online classes set up or not ahead of time, you know, that's sort of like being anti-fragile is less about predicting the future and more about being able to respond to the future, whatever it is, right? And so I don't think that the biggest challenge that people in our industry right now are facing is figuring out that maybe I need to do things online.
No.
Everybody's like, I need to do things online. It's the only thing to do.
Yeah.
It's less about that. It's more about, I would argue that most people in our position as like a gym owner, leader of some kind in fitness, their biggest trouble is, oh my gosh, I didn't build this team in a way to where leadership would show up, right? But instead you have people being like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. I hope Jay tells us to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really going to listen to whatever he says. That is really a slow moving organization, company at this point, right? What we need to do is build structures that allow for the entire company to respond to times like this, and that has nothing to do with the details of online courses, this, that, and the other thing. It's hey, when trouble strikes, how does the company respond?
Yeah. And I think a great example of that is Delta Bravo. When it came out, I just had to sit, admire it a little bit, share it with some friends, saying, okay, here is something that is so clear, it's funny, it has a whole idea behind it, and it's like this strength and conditioning at home program, basically, right? And there are a million strength and conditioning programs at home being offered right now. A lot of them are free, or you have to pay for it. But can you tell me the process and the goal you had when you said, okay, we are going to do this as Deuce, and because we're Deuce, we're going to do it in a way that's unique and funny, and all these other things are going to separate us from everything else that's out there, because that's how it feels.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's been a max effort, kind of behind the scenes. And in order to do it justice, I would have to go to the beginning. And the beginning is this pandemic happens and fitness becomes illegal in the gym. Now, the only reason why we were able to attack the situation, and I mean it when I say that, it felt like we were attacking the ambush, so to speak, right? It wasn't like, oh my gosh, like, let's tune into the news and see what else is happening to us that's negative. It was sort of like we received some change in the environment and we figured, okay, we're going to point all of our arrows in this direction and we're going to go. That was only possible because, thank God, this whole time we have been creating context for what it is that we do. And that has been very clear since day one. And since day one, we have sat every person down who's a part of our gym, like students, members, whatever you want to call them, and told them to their face that fitness is free. Fitness was free, it's free today, and it will be probably even more free tomorrow. The reason why people come to this place is they come to this place for the best coaching experience they can find within 1,000 miles of here, period. Our dumbbells aren't that nice. Our barbells, we don't have that many barbells. We don't even have a nice shower with hot water. Okay, the value, make no mistake, in coming to this place is that you are coming to movement school. And of course, while you're here, you will train, you will sweat, you will get stronger, you will get faster, you will get more flexible. But, we'll say this to people, this is maybe the most expensive gym, probably the most expensive gym you've ever come to in your life. And if I do a poor job explaining this, you will think that you're buying workouts here. To which I would say, go to our website and I will give you directions to the gym down the street that's $30 and do them there, and you will get as fit as you ever could imagine. But, and maybe this is worth saying sometimes and not saying other times, but I would bet that since that's always been the case and you're still not fit, that it's about something else. And that something else is the coaching and the accountability of this place. Okay. So from the get-go, it's not a leap in understanding for our people to realize that when going to the gym becomes illegal, that the value of Deuce is not gone. the value of Deuce is still there. And so what we did is turned up the coaching, turned up the communication, turned up the accountability, and brought to them fitness, high quality fitness training in a new context. And so Delta Bravo is an extension of that. It's like, you know, Deuce luckily has got to a place where, you know, there are people who value what we do who have never been to the gym, and they live states or countries away. And ironically, we have a business that, you know, if you really want to interact with us, you have to live within like 4 miles of the gym, you know. And so Delta Bravo is an exercise in creating value in this new context. And just to let you behind the curtain a little bit, there's sort of like two sides to this. One side is the short term, meaning we have to solve for this near-term problem, financially, fitness-wise, and otherwise.
Yeah. And
then there's the long-term problem, which is as we evolve in complexity digitally, more and more people are going to train in ways that are more time sensitive, at home, more cost efficient, et cetera, leaning more towards digital training. And if we're not a part of that story, then we're leaving out a big portion of the market. And we are fragile in that way, having a brick and mortar business. You know, a big number that we care a lot about in our community is average client value. You know, we create a lot of value inside of our folks. We don't have a lot of space, but each student is worth, you know, mathematically a lot of money. Now, if you look at that number, it's not only good, some of it is bad, because you've created a business where to participate, it's an extreme high price. And so the economy of scale available on the internet is incredible. And so we can create something that is much more affordable and reach people with almost 100% perfect efficiency, right? So if we know training really well, which I believe that we do, we can find what is the stimulus that can get almost all of performance handled with just sort of one intervention, and that is 2 heavy dumbbells, right? And that allows us to maximize the market and maximize the performance inside of those constraints. And I feel confident that we can do that as well as anybody in the world.
Well, that's really, you know, cool, and to see like how you guys have come up with even the branding of it, all the, as you call it, like it was vicious, the way you wording things.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's I can only appreciate that from afar. You know, like I took a sledgehammer to my Peloton bike. That's it's funny, and I just wonder who comes up with that stuff. Is it you and the team, or do you have like a copywriter? Like,
yeah, the marketing stuff is kind of the one job I haven't given up yet. So that one's me. But I will say this, that the program is in existence because of the team. I did almost nothing, right? I didn't name it. I didn't do the programming. I didn't film it. I didn't coach it. And that is what I'm talking about with the leadership in the system. It's very humbling for me to observe. And I feel like I have the best teammates in the world because of how we made this team. So yeah, I contribute in fun ways, like marketing wise and visually, but the asset that is Delta Bravo is something that I've observed the team execute from top to bottom in a way that is just completely awe-inspiring. And so, it's like a Coach Juan, Coach Ben effort that has been advised by Coach Homer and Coach Ronnie, and it's been incredible to see, but it's only possible if you build the system intentionally in that way, and as you've been to the summit, building great teams is not something that happens on accident. And so we gotta understand the mechanisms for that, right? And I think one of the most fragile points in the fitness industry worldwide is almost no one is building companies this way, you know, and fitness professionals are barely professionals, right? They're working all sorts of different side gigs to prop up this role, and there's almost no allegiance to any place, and there's no real roots, and there's a lot of turnover and shifting, and no one wins when that's the case, right? The coaches lose, the business owners lose, and then the members lose because of that fragility, you know. And so I am amazed at our team, and I hope to be as good of a team player as they are every day. You know, that's how it feels.
Yeah. We don't know how long this is gonna last. Right now, do your members still pay their membership fees?
Yeah, some of them do. You know, we've told them very clearly, like, we're not holding you hostage here. You can pause or cancel your membership, and some have, maybe call it many have. But the sort of the feeling of being on offense rather than defense has allowed us to create value. And we came out straight out of the gate and said, I want you to watch us show the type of effort that you've never seen before, to where you feel like this is exceeding all expectations of a gym membership. And I dare you to prove us wrong in this way. And so we've done okay. Now, that being said, the financial consequences of this time are massive. I mean, even little things like retail. You know, we do a substantial amount of business every month in retail alone, and that's all gone. You know, and so it's not like we're sitting pretty. But that being said, I think that we are very strong in this moment.
Yeah.
You know, but it's only possible if you create the right container for that. You know, I empathize with the businesses who thought that they were in the business of like renting equipment, or that they thought that, or they failed to mention that this was about something else, you know, and it's just not very compelling in the year 2020 to think that your business is valuable because you have nice barbells or something. You know, it's a game you can never win, because all it takes is someone to buy barbells that are newer than yours, you know? And so that has been the context all along, I think.
Mm. So if there are gym owners watching this or will watch this, and they're like, oh shit, I sort of feel like he's talking about me in this regard. Like, how can they go about, like, what advice would you give them to start and moving into the right to another?
Yeah. So the main thing is this: you have to realize that if you're a gym owner today, chances are you have benefited from being a gym owner in the right place at the right time. Okay. Any high performance individual eventually learns an important lesson. And if you haven't learned it yet, we are all learning it right now during this crisis. And that important lesson is that there is a paradox in performance. And the paradox is this: we want results, whatever they are. It means more members, it means more revenue, it means better coaches, or whatever the results are. We want them. Now, there is specifically nothing about wanting results that gets them. Okay, you need to do something, and that's the process part. Okay, so I want this, but this is by definition always slightly out of my control because of external factors.
Yeah.
Okay, the only thing that's inside of our control is the process part. Now, you have to divorce yourself from this result orientation, because if you only evaluate yourself based on the result, you can have yourself in a situation like the one right now, which is that because you were allegedly successful, you might believe that you're doing things well. And this sounds counterintuitive, but it is possible to be extremely successful, at least temporarily, on accident, and to do almost nothing well.
Mm-hmm.
And gyms specifically in the last 10 years have benefited from success. That success is very dangerous unless you are nearly obsessive about the process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your focus and attention must be here in the process. So much so that you could have great success, lots of money, lots of members, and be extremely disappointed in the process. You must ask the question, why are we doing this? Can we do this better? Is this acceptable? Separate of the results. Most people are not doing that. Most people are unwilling to consider that they have glaring issues, problems, areas of improvement simply because they have results. Okay. Now, it's also possible to have great processes and then struggle on the results. But there is solace and there is empowerment and there is control in a orientation towards process, because this is where we can take action. Okay, and there's a great deal of freedom because you can go through scenarios like this one and get to work on the things that are inside of your control, and always have something to do, always have a way to contribute, to improve, etc. And it is your insurance policy against what we see a lot, which is that people are successful on accident and it works right up until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, and so yeah, it's this shift towards process orientation that will fill anyone who's listening to this with more questions of themselves than they've ever imagined. Mm-hmm. Right? And are you really doing everything in your power to positively affect the results? And there is so much lack of attention to detail inside of gym businesses that are successful because they opened in the right city or opened at the right time, or they're more or less getting away with murder because the market hasn't punished their poor processes yet. Mm-hmm. And it pays to learn that lesson before you need to learn it. And right now, we need to learn it. Yeah. Because I think a lot of businesses won't survive this, you know?
It's what Ray Dalio was talking about when he asked the question, are you concerned with how good you are or how quick you're learning? And I think that's very true in the business sense. Like, what question are you asking yourself as a business? How good we are right now, or how quick we are learning to be this good in the future?
Very true. Yeah, Ray Dalio is a brilliant mind and developmental by nature, right? They're not interested in where they are; they're interested in where they're going. I tell the example, you know, just because you're in Amsterdam. I think I told the story at the summit that you were at. You know, this result orientation is very dangerous in our industry. And I tell the story about the CrossFit level 2. Yeah. Right. And if anyone who's listening is familiar with the CrossFit world, you don't have to be, but you know, if you are, there's sort of levels of education, and the level 1, which is required of CrossFit, is a great course, in my opinion. It's a weekend course. It's all educational, you know, so you go there, you learn. You come out and you could potentially open a gym after being certified level 1. And it's important to note that your level 1 expires after 5 years. And so there is an observation, friends of mine who teach the level 2 course in Europe specifically were telling me about this phenomenon that's happening in the level 2 there, where those of you who've been to the level 2 know that it differs to the level 1 in that you as a participant are coaching the breakout groups, and the signature difference is that you receive feedback on your ability to coach and lead these breakout groups. And because of the rise in popularity, the timing of CrossFit expanding in Europe, the rise in popularity is such that many European gym owners would open a gym after being certified in the level 1, and for 5 years see 5 years of like exploding growth.
Yeah.
Okay, the training is intense and functional by nature, so it's hard to screw that up. A bunch of people, hundreds of members, get extra fit, and you are the mayor of your town, all is well, right? And then on the 5th year, you get an email that says you must either renew your level 1 or try for the level 2. Well, you know, as any gung-ho mayor of a fitness town, you're going to say, well, I'm not a loser. I'm not going to go backwards. So I'll do the level 2. And then you go to the level 2, and then the first time in your fitness career, you're told that you suck.
Yeah.
And their brains explode. They don't understand what has just been told to them because the results show the opposite.
Yeah.
They taught a bunch of ignorant people a little bit more than they knew before, and they gave them all abs. And so there is no need to question, do I need to be better? Is there a way that I'm weak? Is there an area of focus that is one where I am lacking in my coaching, right? And folks who are not questioning themselves in this way, it can be very jarring to get that feedback.
Yeah.
Right? Similar but different. You could be cruising along and then coronavirus hits and you say, wait a minute, am I not the most robust, thriving business of all time? Because I always thought that I was, right? And so life, the uncertainty of life will introduce us to volatility. That will always happen. It will happen after this. It's happened before this. And so it really pays to learn this lesson now, because one of these lessons, one of these times, it's going to break you. It's not.
Yeah. And probably will break a lot of businesses, if we're honest, because like we said, we have no idea how long this will last. And if you're a business owner that has been absent or have been, like you said, 5 years of living in the good life, then now tough times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes great courage to look in the areas in which you're weak and responsible for that weakness, you know. And so I guess the real challenge is, can you have success and still be interested in how you're weak, you know, how you can improve.
Yeah, and that requires a level of honesty and sort of vulnerability that really needs to be in your culture. If it's not, people are not telling each other where they can improve. Everybody's sort of like, well, everything's going well, so you're okay, I'm okay, and now shit hits the fan, and we have to tell each other the other thing, which is a big uncomfortable switch from how good life was. And you hear a lot of people mention like, oh, I wanted to go back to the way it was. And in a way, maybe that's what they're referring to, because they weren't really being challenged in a way that forced them to look at all these deficiencies.
Yeah, 100%. And you can think about, just to add one layer to that, is the dynamic of how that might feel. If you and I work together and all is well 6 months ago, hey Jay, what's up, man? Everything's fine. But now, once there's a little bit of adversity and things are hard, you and I, not all is well, and our language changes, and now I got all kinds of feedback for you. And what that feels like to you and what that feels like to me is that we're front runners. Like, our relationship is hinging upon the results. I don't know if you remember, there was a quote that I made you write down at the summit that says, and it's a great reflective quote that was big for my my university baseball program, and it's a great check of the health of your company. And so anybody who's listening can write this down. And the quote goes like this: "We will not accept in victory that which we wouldn't accept in defeat." All right? We will not accept in victory that which we wouldn't accept in defeat. So can we, you and I, Jay, in our made-up business, can we make $1 million this month, have a great month, and still you come to me and say, hey, the attention to detail on that memo, it just wasn't there, and you need to dial it in, it wasn't clear, or whatever the feedback is. And I can say, hear that from you on a record revenue month and say, you're absolutely right. And I'll be better in these 5 ways the next time because we're committed to doing this thing better. If we can have that conversation and not brush things under the rug because we're winning and doing well, then it commits us back to the process, right? No one wants to work in an environment where everything is well when things are going good, and everybody's in trouble when things are going bad, right? It's very difficult to maintain trust in that type of environment. I think we all should be creating businesses and relationships and communities where people can try their very best and manage and master the process really well, and we can fall flat on our face and it be okay. You want people to be able to try their honest best, vulnerably try their best, and it be okay whether they win or lose. Okay? Also, winning is not an excuse for cutting corners on the process, right? And that holds us in integrity. That holds the tension of accountability of leadership much better, and that question is one that I think we should ask ourselves all the time, and if not, it's an indicator that you have a result-oriented team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one day this will be over, as we expect. How do you see this? How do you see all of us moving forward, and how does our business change, and if so, in what ways?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a couple layers to this if I'm going to predict the future. I think I will put in a quick caveat, not to dismiss your question, but the caveat I'll say in the beginning is, I don't know that it matters how accurate our predictions now will be for the future. And that's how I view it, because it's out of my control. So it's like, if I spend an hour thinking about that, it's an hour that I could have contributed to something I can control. Now, that being said, in a sort of, if I look at the horizon, I see a couple layers. One is, I think our economy worldwide will be affected well beyond the quarantine, right? That there will be this hangover phase financially that will last months for sure, years probably, kind of thing. Very substantial. I don't necessarily know the specifics of how that will play out, but I do know that the financial impact will not stop the day it's over. That being said, I do see a sort of reset of values, right? And so that there will be this kind of pendulum that will swing back towards that which matters. And I think things like experiences, relationships, health and wellness are going to be the most robust sort of to benefit from that. Okay, so maybe the automotive industry suffers because luxury goods kind of decrease in their perceived value, but gym memberships hang on a little bit more. That being said, the nuts and bolts of people's finances is going to be real. I do think in a general way, any bout of adversity is going to do a bit of, cleansing of the market. Okay. And so folks who were either just hanging on or fragile in nature maybe won't survive. And so there'll be kind of less but better businesses left at the end, which I think is generally good. And I do think that there, specifically when talking about fitness, there's a reassessment as to what is needed, to get fit, so to speak. And so part of our selfish goal of Delta Bravo is like, I wonder how many of these people we can show such a great experience and efficacy and transformation that they don't go back to a gym after this. And I think that is maybe part of it too. But I think if there is any experiences or types of businesses to endure during the financial downturn caused by something so medicalized like a pandemic, that health and fitness are going to benefit, and people are going to be excited to get back in the gym. People are going to be excited to get back to it in a way that feels like a New Year's Day on steroids kind of thing.
Okay. So for you personally, the first day you can go anywhere, any place, with friends, family. Where are you going? What's that day going to look like?
That's a good question. I like culinary experiences, so I think it looks like a big table for 12 at one of our favorite restaurants close by, maybe like Scopa or Hatchet Hall, and sit down and have a 3-hour dinner,
Yeah,
something like that.
Some hugs probably, and
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it. And then also excited to get back in the coffee shop, Yeah.
Not the Amsterdam one, but
yeah, that's right. I should have put the caveat. Yeah. The espresso shop.
yeah. I missed that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
If people want to reach out to you, what is the best way they can do that?
Yeah, I'm not hard to find. So on Instagram or Twitter, I'm at Functional Coach, all one word. And if anyone's interested in the online education, holdthestandard.com has all of the courses. Many of them are online, ebooks. There's some free resources there as well. And then, DeuceGym.com has a blog every day. There's 2,200 of them on there, and short read to start your day and something interesting. And I like interacting with folks, so just shoot me a message.
Awesome. Logan, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, this is great. Thank you. I got to come visit you soon, okay?
Yeah, promise.
As soon as it's legal.
Take care.
Okay. Yeah, see you.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao. That was it, guys. Boom.